I come here and due to an insurance technicality here in New Zealand at this race, you're not going to let me run. I did not buy a bike and come all the way here to not do this. So I packed up all of my like car racing gear and all my bike racing gear, and like I quit my job, and I didn't really know like what I was going to do or where I was going to go. I just knew I needed to like be in New Zealand. So I jumped on a plane, I go to New Zealand, and I get to like this hostel in Auckland. I don't know where I'm going to go. I just know like, cars, bikes, racetracks. And then the guy in the dorm is just like, oh, the super bikes are in Christchurch, which is like, so I'm in the top of like the North Island, and Christchurch is like down in the south. I'm like, oh, are they? And I just was like, all right. I booked like a very expensive flight, and I just jumped on a plane and went down to Christchurch. And then like I met like a Honda guy in the plane. So I like hitchhiked my way to the racetrack, and I was like, sweet, how do I get to like ride a bike or something? So I had like a US like racing license for motorcycles, but it didn't like convert. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just hang out with you guys and I'll figure this out. I need to get a motorcycle, And so I traveled around the super bike guys for a little bit, and we were staying at like a campground thing. And I was like, okay, I found this Ducati. It's in Dunedin, so it's quite a while away. I was like, they're like, oh, that's fine. Like, if you want to leave your stuff here with us, like, that's all good. Go down, take a bus down, and then ride back up. I'm like, yep, sweet. So I talked to the guy, and he was like, yep, nope, you can come down. Yeah, if you can get it here, I can pick you up. You can check out the bike and be all good. I go on a bus. I get horrifically car sick on the bus. But I eventually make it down to Dunedin. The guy picks me up and it's all good. I'm like, take the bike for a test ride. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Beautiful, like Ducati Monster. I love Ducati Monsters. I raced like a Ducati 696 at one point. Like I love Monsters. I love the dry clutch, the rattle, all that. So this thing was just like, oh, I love this. It's good. I didn't really think about like how I would have a place to stay or sleep or anything. I was just like, whatever, I'll sleep next to the bike. It'll be fine. So I go to like pay the guy, and I had a PayPal account. I was like, sweet. I got all cash. He's like, well, I've never used PayPal, but yeah, I'll make an account. So he makes an account, and then I go, yep, pay. And then PayPal would not release my funds. I'm like, okay, whatever. This is just technical error. I spent hours on the phone with PayPal going, hey, this is my money. I'm me. I verified I'm me. You send it to this guy. And they would not do it. They would not pay him. Like, he tried calling him. I tried calling him. Like, it's getting late. And it finally just came like, I can't buy this bike. Like, PayPal would not do it. And it was like devastating. And then I didn't know where to go. And then I knew the super bike guys were going to be moving on. It was like, what am I going to do? A, I needed a place to stay. B, this guy was like mad now because it seemed like I was trying to, whatever. And it's like, I had this like think about the money's in the account. Like I'm not a big fan of PayPal anymore. But anyway, so there's this thing called like couch surfing, and you can like, find a place. I always prefer it to like hotels and stuff. You can stay with locals, and locals can like show you around, all the stuff like that. And usually it's pretty good if you find someone with like good reviews, and it's pretty safe usually. But this is kind of a last minute thing. And I was just like, I don't know where to go, And there was like a close guy's like, yeah, you can stay on my couch and stuff. And normally when you couch surf, like you get them dinner, you do, something like that because they're hosting you, and you have, it's good conversation usually, and it's all good. So it turned out really not good. It was one of those like situations where it's like, something doesn't seem quite right. He's like, oh yeah, my TV got stolen. Oh yeah, this got stolen. And then like as the night went on, he kept drinking, and then got a little bit like frightening. And I started thinking, I think this guy doesn't know that he pawned his own stuff. So I was like, I need to go. And he started getting like, overly friendly and stuff. And I was like, hey man, I'm just gonna, so I was like awake all night. And then I got on the thing, I was like, I gotta find something to buy. So because PayPal wouldn't release my funds, there's this thing in New Zealand called Trade Me, and kind of like eBay for Trade Me, but Trade Me has a thing called Ping. And Ping, you can hook up your credit card to and pay via Ping. So there's vehicles on Trade Me that you can pay for with Ping. So I was looking all over Trade Me and like sending like, these people messages, anything that was nearby that I could just get. And at one point I even ended up calling like a dealer about this Honda. And like I rarely buy, like I don't buy used cars from dealers. Like maybe a new car, but like I just go and, buy it from the person. So, but like the dealer's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can because I messaged some people about some cars and I hadn't heard back yet. But the dealer's like, oh, I can pick you up now. I was like, you can pick, yeah, just pick me up. Pick me up. So the dealer came, picked me up, took me to the dealership, and I was looking at these cars and I was like, yeah, they're nice, but it's like, I don't really want something nice for like, going down like fire roads and stuff. Like, I was just like, and it was like twice the price I wanted to pay. I'm just like, oh man, do I really need to do this? And then I look across the street at the dealership and I see this like little like purpley Honda. And I'm like, it's like, is that the one that I messaged that guy about? And I guess I told him like I was going to the dealership, whatever, but I hadn't heard back. Turns out he drove down to the dealership, had the car parked across the street. And I'm just like looking at it. I'm like, man, I'm just going to go across the street because I think this is the guy that I messaged like, before I talked to you. And he's like, okay, yeah, okay, sure. So I go across the street. And of course, it's a little Honda Civic, like EK3 with like the facelift. It was like year 2000. So it's a desirable Civic. So I ended up being like, okay, well, can I pay you with Ping? And of course, he's like, yep, that's all good. So we went and had to wait for the funds to come through, which also was delayed because all my cards are like American. So again, I had to get on the phone, do all this stuff like that. So we ended up like hanging out with this guy for like hours and hours. And he just wanted to like be done with it. But finally got the Civic. And it's a little manual like JDM. It's a fun car. I started trying to drive back up to the Christchurch area where the Superbike guys were. They were about to leave. So I show up and they're like, what? It's like, this is not a Ducati. I'm like, I know this isn't a Ducati, but it's like, this is what I had. This is the best I could do. And then they were just like, yeah, we were like about to take your stuff to the police. And I was like, thank you for like sticking around, because I had no way to like get in touch with them and all this stuff like that. And there's this thing called the Burt Monroe Festival. And like, if anybody knows about Burt Monroe, he went over to the US and he brought like this sketchy bike and he went to Bonneville and he like set this amazing record and all this stuff against all the odds. So I'm like, I'm from America. I'm going to go to New Zealand. I'm going to do this beach run. It's going to be like the reverse and it's going to be epic. I first need a bike. So I tried to get like a tow bar for the Civic. That didn't work out. So I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe I can just like carry the bike in the Civic. So I found this Aprilia and it was like in Queenstown, I think. So I was like, hey man, like totally keen. Like I can give this. There's just one caveat. Like you have to help me load it into my car. And if it fits, I will buy it. Like we're good. I will buy it. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. What kind of car? And I told him like, oh yes, it's a Civic. He's like a Honda Civic. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll just give it a go. So I show up, I test ride the bike. The bike's all good. I'm like, all right, sweet. So I'm like, we need to get this in the car. And so I folded down like the back seats and everything. And we got like some ramps and stuff. We kind of turned it sideways and like shoved it in. So the front was facing like out. And then, it wasn't all good to fit. So I just had the front wheel hanging down and I just, like strapped the hatch on it as much as possible. But the car was totally open. So it was like, you don't even want to park in like a car park or anything because like anyone can take all of your stuff. And I was, I just gotten there. I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. So I was living out of the car. And I drove all the way down to the bottom of New Zealand with like this motorcycle hanging out of the back of my Civic. And like, it wasn't an issue. Like later on, people were like, I don't know how you didn't get pulled over and all stuff like that. But I didn't. And I thought it was fine because it's like, well, it's all legal. Like the lights, it's not impeding like, safety or anything like that. It's just looks odd. So I get all the way down there. And then they have all these like festivities for the Burt Monroe Festival. They have the biggest thing is the beach race. And that's like the iconic thing is the Burt Monroe beach run. And so I was like, yep, I'm going to do that. And I started talking to them. I'm like, oh yeah, if you can get start permission sent over from the US. And the times are different. So I'm getting in touch with FINRA down in Florida. And they're like, okay, yeah. It's like crazy hours in the morning for them. But they're sending over start permission. They're verifying my license, all this stuff. I'm like, yep, sweet, it'll be good. And like I volunteered to marshal for the hill climb. I did like a track day with like the Honda boys. So I'm on this like little Aprilia 125 and like these guys, like, the big super bikes are like buzzing by. They let me like be in the front so they could all like pass me because I love the like starts of races where it's like drum, drum, drum. So, I was having a great time with this Aprilia and I was like, sweet, I get to the beach race and it's like the iconic already beach and all these guys are there with the bikes. I had my bike ready to go. I taped up the lights. I had my motorcycle leathers on and I go to like, check in. They're like, oh, well, we can't make this happen. I'm like, due to an insurance technicality, we can't make this happen. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Burt Monroe, like I come here and due to an insurance technicality here in New Zealand at this race, you're not gonna let me run. I did not buy a bike and come all the way here to not do this. So I waited until low tide again, which happened to be 11 p.m. at night. And I was like, gonna do it by myself. And then I met Dave Moss tuning, like he comes to tune bikes in New Zealand stuff at the track day. And I sent him a message about like, hey, something to the effect of, I'm gonna do a beach run if you want to join or whatever. But I was like, one way or another, I'm doing this. And then he shows up. So we're on the beach in the dark. And I'm like, yep, let's go. So I'm just like going hundy as hard as I can on this beach in the dark. The lights don't go that far. I almost got taken out by like seaweed, but I did it. And I finished and I did my Burt Monroe beach run. And that was the important part. And then I had to figure out what I was going to do because this bike was hanging out of my car and I had to live in my car and I could sleep next to the bike. So that concluded my bike racing in New Zealand.
When you get a ticket, it might look something like this, but the first thing that you need to do is take a picture of that ticket and send it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. They've got brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they can help you find a ticket no matter where you get it in the United States by helping you find a local attorney that will do everything they can to help you avoid costly fines, insurance premium increases, points on your license, risk of suspension, even jail time. They've helped me out with this ticket and many others and a lot of my friends as well. So check them out now at the link in the description below, or again, text your ticket to 305-305 to get the ticket clinic on your case. They are the perfect partner in your fight against any speeding ticket.